for anybody that feels misaligned right now, what advice would you give them to realign themselves to like pursue their true passions?
The first thing is values. And I feel like there's certain words that we see a lot and people say a lot, and maybe they've become cliche in our brain because they're overused. I feel like alignment is one of those words where everyone says you should be aligned, and I think we ignore it. In fact, some years back, one of my friends told me that cliches are statements that hold a lot of power, but they've been so recklessly used that the value of them is diminished. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so I feel like the values is something we talk about a lot, but no one really understands it. And I'll explain here in a moment because I feel like that's the first step. And then, of course, alignment, I think, is one of those that's kind of overused. So I think the first thing is, what are my values? Like, what is it that I value in my life right now? What is it that I value? Part of that could be faith. Part of that could be family, right? When you start to ask yourself what your values are, you start to realize that the things that feel like friction, even in business and in life, are because they're going against your values, right? For example, right now I'm in a season where I love my wife, I love my marriage, and I'm trying to stay in that marriage forever, right? And so with my wife, it's time. With my kids, I have an almost 5-year-old and an almost 2-year-old, right? They're in a season now where they value time so much, right? So if I miss this window, I actually had a friend of mine that said, I missed so many of the windows of time when my kids were small. I almost regret not having those moments to have the time with them. And my kids know, like, they're like when we're not with them, when I'm busier, when I'm because I work from home, like my office is at home, my kids will tell me, like my son, almost 5-year-old, will be like, Dad, like, where have you been? Like, and so they recognize that. I remember things at 5 years old. So what are my values? Is it time? And is what I am building aligned with that? So that's the first thing. And then I think the next step to figuring out alignment is now going back to the root. What do I love to do? What do I lose track of time doing? And I think that's another thing that I think we misunderstand. I feel like every time we talk, you love what you do. Like, you could do this forever, right? You lose track of time doing this. So what do I love to do? What is my lived experience? Because there's hints in our own journey that give us clues as to how we can better serve the world. Does that make sense?
Love
right?
that.
So what is my lived experiences? What are some of the toughest things I've been through that I can, like, every business I've ever created has always come from a tough season I have been through, and now it's a solution for someone just like me. So what do I love to do? What is my lived experience? What are my natural gifts? Right? For example, one of my natural gifts, and natural gifts are usually things that you've always kind of been pulled towards and people have always celebrated you for. One of mine is speaking. So I've always, for years since I was a kid, I mean, we could talk here all day, right?
Yeah.
So
actually, I would love for us to create a talk show where you teach me how to speak.
I got you.
Because you are so eloquent, and I love that. And I appreciate that. I hope to be as smooth as you when I grow up. When speaking.
When you grow up. Well, no, I appreciate that. I have to thank my mother for that. She would kind of force this is not the right word, but she created opportunities for us to do things in church and things like that. And so I think over time I fell in love with speaking. But what are my natural gifts? For some people, it's storytelling. For some people, it's being strategic. There's some people that are really, really good at strategy, being analytical, right? What are my natural gifts? And am I giving myself a chance to amplify those or to use those in what I'm creating? Does that make sense?
Yep.
Right? So what are my natural gifts? What do I love to do? What are my lived experience? And then the last one is, what are my real skills? Like, things that I'm genuinely skilled at. Because I feel like natural gifts and skills are two very different things. Skills could be what you learned via training. Skills could be something that you've just done repetitively until it's almost second nature to you.
Ingrained to your brand.
Exactly. And then from there, it's saying, cool, am I solving problems that mirror that? And that's where, for me, I've made pivots. I've shut down. We, not too long ago, shut down a company because I had to reassess that and realized, nope, the problem I want to solve or should be solving is over here. A lot of people would have looked at what we did and said that was foolish. And I'm like, no, that was aligned, right? And so I feel like for a lot of people, whether it's entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, it's constantly asking yourself those questions to figure out if what I'm building and creating falls in line with that, or if what I'm building and creating is based off of some metric or some rules that someone else told me to play by that doesn't actually fulfill me, where someone else could see me on the outside and think, oh, you are successful, but in truth, you feel extremely miserable, extremely misaligned, and you feel like you've created a prison.
That's so fire!
Fire, fire, fire.
That's so fire, baby. That's so fire.
Fire.
That's so fire.